Hi nail art lovers, this is Scary Berry. This video is about how I do my stamping with the gelish liquids and dip powders. I've got all my supplies and I'll go over those. But basically this video is about how to sandwich your stamping art in between dip powder colors. I do mine this way because I feel like it lasts just a little bit longer. It makes the stamping look really crisp. Versus some of the other ways I've seen people do it where they'll put their stamp on the end stages, but then sometimes they're not able to use their last top coat color just because the stamping sometimes can affect how that all cures. So through many trial and error, this is what I've figured out how it works, just to get a look like this where, like I said, the stamp will be sandwiched in between the dip colors and under a clear coat of powder. So what you'll need is everything that you do your nails with, essentially just for dip. So I've got Noche Revel Nail. This was part of their Dia della Revel color collection. They came out at the beginning of fall, I believe, of 2018. It's discontinued now. I actually scooped this one up during their Black Friday sales that were crazy. So now I have this. And then I've got Revel Nail. This one's one of their older jars they used to use. They've since upgraded into the silver lid. This one's D75 Vivian Clear. It's just a clear base. I use it to seal glitters and the stamps. You'll need a buffing block that you would typically use your nails, but in this case I'm using a swatch stick. A filer, the set of liquids that you prefer. I use gelish now. I like these ones a lot because it's actually a 4-step process, and this one has a prep as step 1, which I really like. I haven't been getting any lifting with this where your hair gets caught under your nails, so I use gelish now. So there's the prep. They have a base coat, they have an activator, and then they've got a top coat. And then for stamping, you'll need a stamping plate. So this is one of BMC. That company has now since changed to one called Maniology. They rebranded their company, so it's Maniology now. But this was one of their plates that came in one of their free kits, I believe, and you just paid the shipping. It was basically just to get started in stamping. So this one's Gypsy Soul BM/XL357, and I'm probably going to use one of these two images for this tutorial. You'll need a scraping card, and most kits come with these. They're a little bit flimsier than a credit card, and what they do is they push the stamping polish into the grooves that are laser etched onto these stainless steel plates. You need stamping polish. So this is BMC. Again, they switched to Maniology, their name. This is a color called Restless Dahlia. It's this really pretty milky kind of peachy orange coral. And then when you're doing your real nails, liquid latex is really great to have. You just paint it on your skin actually to protect everything that you don't want the stamping polish to go onto. It saves a lot of time with trying to remove it with acetone without messing up your mani. You just paint this around your skin before you even start, and then once the polish gets stamped on, it goes onto the latex, so you peel this off at the end and your skin around your nail is already all clean. You don't have to worry about cleanup for that. For this setup in this tutorial, you're going to need a no smudge top coat made specifically for stamping. I don't know the formulation for this, and I don't really know how it works exactly, but it doesn't smear this kind of ink for this polish. This polish has a different kind of consistency. I usually describe it as the liquid whiteouts that you would paint on the paper when they had those. So it's a little bit different, and this seals it without smearing it. Before, when I was doing it, I found that the top coat would smear it unless you were very careful, and it's really hard to do quickly. So this no smudge top coat's really great. You're going to need some cotton balls or cotton rounds to remove the stamping polish once you've placed it on one nail if you're doing multiple, and just for general cleanup. I use a clothespin for this, and I just push these on here. You want to be careful not to scratch your plate, so I've got a good bunch down here. And then I've got an acetone remover bottle that's actually like a pump top. So I'll just push this on there and it'll get acetone on there, and then you'll wipe off your plate. And then as well, you'll need something to pick up your stamps with. So this was a Maniology little block stamper. It's got a lid, it's got the stamper, and you just push down like that onto your nail. There's a lot of different great ones that are available. This is another one of them. This one's really big, so it's great for bigger nails. And they're always typically see-through. My favorite ones are see-through, so that way you can see where you're actually placing your design once you get started. So, a timer is always good to have when you're doing liquid dip nails because it's almost a chemical reaction that's caused, and you want to be very precise. It definitely helps not ruin your liquids, which can happen to anybody. So, I'll put my timer over here. You'll need a buffing block to finish up, and then a nail file. And also, you don't use acetone on these stamper heads. It'll cloud them and just break down the silicone that they're made of eventually. So you'll always stamp onto something sticky. You can use masking tape. This is actually a sheet just from a basic lint roller that you'd use to get hair off of your clothes. And then I've got washi tape, and I just tape mine down to my tabletop surface over to the side. So I'm going to move this over here to where I'll be using it, and we'll get started. I'll just clear some of this off real quick. Always need more space than you think you'll need because you start shuffling everything around and moving it. So once the plate's clean, I like to kind of get these oil smudges off that happen from just touching it from your hands. I feel like the stamp gets picked up way better. So after you clean it with acetone, I'll just rub over it with a towel and make sure I'm not trapping any little lint in here because, like I said, these are laser etched, so they can be not sharp but not essentially very smooth, and you don't want the towel to be cut up and into the little grooves. So I do that, wipe that off, and I'll just make sure my stamper's clean. I can see a little bit of powder residue on there, so I'm just going to tap it off on my lint roller sheet I've got over here to the left. So what you'll do for your nails, you'll swatch it onto your finger, So I did 2 dips already of Noche on this one. So depending on how your color is and how thick you typically do your nails, 2 or 3 coats is usually always good. So I've got 2 on here. Noche is a pretty darker color, so I don't need 3 for this one. So you would have it 1 dip of color and 1 dip of color, and then you're ready to stamp. So this one's ready to go. Finish 2 dips and you dust like you typically would. And then you'll need to get ready to pick up your image. So what you'll usually do is get a paper towel. Don't have one over here. The one thing I forgot. So I'll use this older towel I have. What you're going to do is put the polish here, and then you're going to scrape it. So it's going to scrape off of the plate and onto whatever surface you have underneath that. So paper towels are usually really good for this, but I forgot to grab that one thing. So I'm going to use this old towel, and you're going to need your stamping polish, your nail, ready to go with 2 dips of whatever color you're using for your base. Now, whenever you put the polish onto here, it dries fairly quickly. It's like I said, it's a weird consistency, so you have to move pretty fast when you're getting ready for this. So you'll need your scraper card, your nail, your pickup stamper, and your polish. You'll paint your polish over the image, scrape the card to push the polish into the grooves. Then you'll pick it up with your stamper and place it on your nail. So really quickly, we'll go through that. You need a pretty big bead of the polish, and you want to make sure that you're covering your plate pretty well so that you don't scrape all of the polish off. So you just grab it and you're going to lightly just flick it over and push the polish into those grooves. That's a pretty good pickup. And then with stamping, I like to do the rolling technique. There's a few other different ones, but this one I found has worked the best for me. So it picked up that image awesomely. Then you would stamp it over your nail, And for this, I rock it just a little bit so that way the edges of my design are going to come off onto my nail. Then you can remove it. And with any of these little extra parts that hang on, you can either tap it down or off. So when it's on your real nail, you can use something like the edge of a cuticle stick and kind of just push it down onto your nail, or just kind of cut it basically and push that extra onto your finger so that the design will wrap to the edge. This one was a little bit short, but my fingers aren't that wide. So that's how you do your design. And then to clear this off, you would just tap it on to your masking tape or your lint roller, and then that clears off your plate, your stamping, your stamper. And we can move that over to the side. We're done with the polish for this one. I'm going to clean this plate off real quick with my cotton roll cleaner. Having something to hold the cotton balls is definitely going to save the nails that you've already gotten finished or ready to go. You don't want to try to touch the acetone with this. So that's why this is really helpful, because I don't have to worry about maybe messing up my nails when I get acetone on them. So you clean off your plate like that. You always want to clean off your scraper cards too. The extra polish that you moved into the grooves is going to be on there. So that's clean. We're done with those supplies. So now that you've stamped your image onto your dip powder nails, you wait a little bit for this to dry. It dries fairly quickly because of the consistency that it is, so this one's already dry. And then I will paint the no smudge top coat onto my stamping on my nail. And a few people that I've talked to actually have different brands of this. I think Moyu was the brand. And my friend said that it took a long time to dry, as regular nail polish does, but this one actually dries pretty quickly, under a minute. So see how that didn't smear it? It's this formula of stuff that just doesn't smear it, and it dries quicker than nail polish. And you can see it almost drying just like the first top coat will, and it'll almost look like an orange peel, kind of porous surface, I guess is a way to describe it. So that's just about done. What I'm going to do next is actually use my base coat and clear and dip this swatch back into my clear, or you can sprinkle it over if you use clear for glitters and you don't want to contaminate your jar. Just wait a few more moments for this to dry. It's just about dry on the edges. Another great thing you can use to bury your fingernails around your cuticles is this stuff that Maniology probably still makes. I got it when it was still Bundle Monster Company, but they're like band-aids basically that you would tape around your finger edge to protect it, just like you would use with the liquid latex. They come 20 protectors in a box container, and you just tape it around to your finger like that, and it protects that whole area and just leaves your nail free. So this is another great thing to try too. Okay, so I'll put this over by a fan and dry that up. So now you'll do a coat of clear with your base or your number one. Some companies have it as called number one. You'll cover your entire nail just like you would do if you're dipping. My clear is already kind of contaminated, so I'm not too worried about sprinkling over it. I didn't do that to begin with like I should, so. And so now we've covered the entire design in clear. You'll dust this off just like you would. Let me dunk it one more time actually. So now we've done 3 dips. All that we did in between was stamp, cover it with the top coat, and then finish our 3rd dip in clear. So next, we'll activate this. Some companies have this called number 2. So you'll activate your nail, and then you'll wait for that to dry. This activator says apply activator to all nails, reapply base coat, file, and shape. So what I'm actually going to do after that activator sets is go back with number 1 again. I really think that this gelish liquid process has it figured out so that you don't ruin your other bottles and contaminate it. And what doing another layer of base coat really helps with is to smooth everything out. You can really get a smooth finish without having to buff too much of the powder off, because you're leveling this last layer of base before you go in and activate one more time, and then you would do your 2 layers of the top coat. So that's why gelish is really great for me, and I figured out how to do this in the process with the stamping the best with these particular brand. So next is going to be the last layer of base coat. This is the one that I'll wait to dry, and then I'll file it. I like gelish a lot as well because these bottles are really big, and the brushes, as you can see, are clear, so it really helps know exactly where you're laying this down. So now we'll just wait for this to dry. Here are the steps written out: the gelish liquids and the Born Pretty No Smudge. So you'll dip with color, you'll dip with color again, you'll stamp, then you'll apply your no smudge top coat, you'll dip clear, you'll activate everything above so it hardens, then you'll apply your number 1 or your base coat in the instance of gelish's line. We're just waiting for that base coat to dry. And then I'm going to use my buffing blocks. I bought these on Amazon. I think it came like a 12 or a 10 pack, and it was just about as much money, $10 or $12 for that much. So about $1 a piece, I'm pretty sure. And then I also found these files that they make. 100/180 grit works really well for dip powder. So after this dries, we'll go ahead and buff that off. So we're at filing step right now. Then I'll activate again, wait for that activator for sure to dry because I don't want to ruin my top coat or my number 3, whichever is your finisher for the dip powder. That's the bottle sometimes that tends to get gunky the quickest. I feel like it's the easiest to mess up, so definitely watch my time on that. And then I'll do a number 3 and then another coat of number 3. So this is at the same point where you would buff your real nails if you hadn't have stamped in between. The reason why I do a clear coat in between stamping is so that I can still get a really smooth layer. The clear, when you put it on, protects what you did for your stamping art. So I don't have to worry about filing my design away. And then if this was your real nail, you'd do the sides, and then the free edge. And then I just go in the corners just at a little bit of an angle so that they're not sharp. One more dusting. And now you can see that everything is smooth. So we'll activate one more time. You want to get your edge as well. And then usually this needs about 30 seconds to a minute or two to cure. And then I'll finish off with 2 coats of top coat. Okay, so now it's time for the last 2 steps, which will be 2 coats of the dip top coat. So the first one you just apply pretty quickly, and you'll need to let it dry until it gets about the consistency of oranges. So we'll apply that and let it sit. And now the last coat of number 3. And that's how I do my stamping, to sandwich it in between the layers of dip powder. So after this one dries up, it'll be all set to go until you're ready to change your next manicure. You'll still have the strength of applying the whole series that's necessary to properly dip your nails. And you'll have a cute design sealed in there, looking really crisp, protected, and you'll have the durability of the entire system completed. So I hope you enjoyed my first YouTube video, and hit like and subscribe.